This is The Big Question with Dr. Ellie Gonzalez, brought to you by Good News Unlimited, tackling the big questions in a simple and positive way.
And today's big question is it true that God is a narcissist? Basically, what people mean when they ask this question is, why does God ask us to praise Him and worship Him? It's a question that comes logically to people who haven't been brought up in the Judeo-Christian tradition. And the reason is because they don't have a concept of a God who is above all and who is actually worthy to be worshipped. Among human beings, anyone who constantly wants to be the center of attention and wants you to remember how good they are all the time, they wouldn't have many friends, would they? And we actually have a label for such people. We call them narcissists, right? I'm sure we've all had to deal with them or avoid them. They're usually very selfish and annoying people, and some people think that that's what the Christian God might be like.
But let me paint a very different picture for you. What if God isn't like a human being at all? What if God actually is above all, our sovereign creator? And what if you actually have been made by this God and you only ever find your true self when you are right with Him and put Him at the very center of your life? This God demands worship because when you adore Him above all, you keep your life centered on who you truly are and on your true purpose for living. Worship becomes how you connect with this God. It's about how you find real peace and joy, and it's how you're energized to live beyond anything that you could ever experience otherwise. Now, this God is entirely selfless. He's entirely loving, and so it's entirely right and natural that such a God would demand your worship because it's for your own good. God doesn't ask you to worship Him in order to satisfy His own needs because He wants your good. He desperately wants your worship, though He doesn't need it. He knows that you are only truly safe when you enter into His strength, into His love, and you do it by acknowledging who He is and surrendering yourself to Him. That's what worship is. There's no insecurity in true worship. It's how you find your true identity.
The reality is that the way that God created humanity, He made us to worship. And worship is fundamental. We're all going to worship something. We worship what we find our security in. We tend to worship what we want to have more of. For some people, it's money and material possessions. For others, it's the current crop of Instagram influencers or reality stars. If you worship anything other than God, you're just going to be let down. If you worship anything other than God, well, that's what He calls idolatry. So I don't think God's a narcissist. But if you don't want to worship Him, well, perhaps you might be.
For more, contact goodnewsunlimited.com.